have, you know, obviously turbos for, you know, on them and all that stuff. But it's 16-cylinder. 3 of our engines, 16-cylinder diesel engines, and we have 3 12-cylinder diesel engines. They all have a generator that runs, you know, and creates electricity for the entire ship. Depending on how fast we need to go, dictates how many engines we have to have running.
Good afternoon, my name is Sheldon. I live in Port St. Lucie, Florida. My question is that since I was on the ship, I learned that there were 2 other ships of this class under construction. And I was just wondering, how limiting a factor is it given the number of ports that could accommodate this size vessel, given that I don't imagine that tendering would be a viable option with this number of passengers?
True. Tender operations would be very difficult to do with 6,000 guests, as you can imagine. But the company is always looking for ports where we can put these ships. And you know, a lot of people think since we are so big, it is very limited to the ports that we can go, which is not necessarily 100% correct. But you know, if you think of the Freedom of the Seas, anybody been on the Freedom class? Yeah, great ships. We are just a little bit longer, a little bit wider, a little bit taller. You know, from the outside, I mean, we looks to be much bigger because we're wider and taller, but at the end of the day, we are just about 85 feet longer than the Freedom class. So wherever they can go, we can, you know, 95% wherever they can go, we can go. So it's not that we are very, very limited to the ports that we can go to. We are building Oasis number 3, just started just a few weeks ago. And she will be delivered to us in 2016. We have the option to build Oasis number 4 as well, 4. And she will be delivered to us in 2018. And so far, the company has not come out and say where they are going to be putting these 2 ships. But I'm pretty sure something interesting is going to come up. This ship, the Oasis, next year, September 1st, we will go to Europe. We will be spending 2 months over there in Europe to test out the market and show the ship off and all that stuff, and then we're going to be coming back. So we know for sure we'll be able to go to many different ports in Europe. So that might be one of the destinations for the new ships, or who knows. We just don't know it yet. So keep your eyes open for that. It's going to be very interesting to follow.
Hi, I'm Lori from Toronto, Canada. I heard yesterday that 6 people got left behind. What happens if people get left behind? Do they get back on the boat or say bye-bye?
So, where do you live, ma'am? Where? In Toronto, okay. So, let's say you and your husband were planning to go for a fantastic 5-day beautiful trip to Paris. The flight leaves at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you show up at 2:05. What has happened to the plane? It's gone. They're not going to wait for you, although they know you have a ticket, but you know, they're not going to wait for you. We had, unfortunately, some of our guests decided not to come back on the scheduled time. Our scheduled departure time is 5 o'clock sharp. We ask all our guests to be back on board by 4:30 so that we can have a proper departure time and all that stuff. Now, if you decide not to come back, or you forget about it, you fall asleep on the beach, or you're having a great time at Carlos and Charlie, whatever it is, I don't know if you are going to come in 2 minutes or in 2 hours. So we have to leave on our scheduled time. Unfortunately, yesterday there was some of our guests that chose not to come back on time. So when these things happen, we will always go to their staterooms to pick up their passports and any credit cards that they may have. That will swipe a couple of times on the way down to the gangway. And that will then be given to the agent, who in turn will then find these people. He will be assisting these people to book their hotel room or flights to wherever that is that they want to go. These guests that was late yesterday, I presume they are going to come and pick up their luggage on tomorrow. That's what my best guess is. There is one, if you are on a Royal Caribbean sponsored tour, if you bought a tour on board, for example, and the bus has a flat tire or ran out of gas, or you know, and we know it is late because we keep track on these things. We are obligated either to wait for you. It depends how many there are of you and how long of a wait it is and that kind of stuff. We will either wait for you until you come back on board, or we will put you up in a hotel and fly you then to the next destination. Because now that is our responsibility. But if you choose to go ashore and decide not to come back, but at the time we sail, you're on your own. You know, that's just how it is. Obviously, we don't want it to happen, but it's up to you if you want to come back and continue sailing, really. All right.
Hello, I'm Graham from Scotland. I was wondering how long it takes to build a ship like this, from when you lay the keel. I mean, you kind of mentioned it earlier on. It was the ship that's started now, 2016, about 3 years.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 years. From you started to cut the steel and lay the keel down until we take possession, it's about 2.5 years.
Yeah, and which shipyard was this ship built?
This ship was built at the Masayard, Kvarnor Masayards, or STX it's actually called now, in Turku, Finland.
Finland.
Turku, Finland, yes.
Last question, and how much does it cost to build something like this?
This ship costs $1.4 billion. $1.4 billion. Almost as much as those AIG bonuses a couple of years ago, remember that? All right.
Hello, my name is Sarah and I'm from Seattle, and I'm wondering what you do about pirates.
Pirates? Well, it's been a while since there were pirates here in the Caribbean. Blackbeard and his gang of however many they were caught about 200 years ago, and since then it's been fairly non-existing. But you know, there are piracy around the world. Obviously, we don't go necessarily where there are piracy. If that was the case, we would have had, you know, what should I say, instrumentation to deter piracy. It is not needed here in the Caribbean, although somewhere we go, it may look like there might be a pirate ship. But yeah, no need to be worried about pirates, really.
Hi, my name is Sharice. I'm from Pasadena, California, and I was wondering, what is the hiring process for anyone who wants to work for this ship? Like, what do they have to go through to get hired? Is it a long?
Are you looking for a job?
No, I'm just curious.
Just curious? Well, you know, depending on where you live, you know, we have hiring partners in many different countries around the world. If you live here in the States, well, our headquarters are in Miami. You know, you can send your resume to our HR center in Royal Caribbean in Miami. Obviously, you can go online and post your resume there, your CV, and all that stuff. If you are in the Far East, I mean, we have hiring partners in all over the Far East, in Europe and South America, and all that stuff. And they're obviously busy all the time, you know, advertising. You want to work for the cruise ships, blah blah blah, you know. And if you apply for a job, let's say a waiter, well, we would expect to see a resume with a waiter background, that kind of stuff. You will be then called in for an interview. You must speak English and understand English. That's the official language. That is the language that will be spoken during an emergency, and you will have to show some understanding of the English language for sure. So it's a big process, but you know, we've been doing it for so many years that it's almost automatic in a way. But for people here in the States, send your resume to Royal Caribbean in Miami.
Hello, I'm Joe from Germany, and I have a question about the freshwater production. How do you produce it, and what you are doing with the waste?
Freshwater production, we produce about 400,000 gallons of water every day, about 1,800 tons of fresh water every day. We have reverse osmosis. Anybody know what that is? You heard about that? A big filtration system that, you know, it takes out all the salt and all that stuff. We also have evaporators. Anybody know what that is? Evaporators is a small tank that we fill up kind of half full with seawater, and we then suck all the air out of it, so we create a vacuum inside this tank. In vacuum, water will boil at a much lower temperature than regular. What is the boiling temperature for water? 212 degrees? For the Americans. For the rest of the world, it's 100 degrees centigrades. Can you guys change? Can we go to the metric system? You're stuck on inches and feet and... Really? Oh my goodness me. But nevertheless, what we do when you boil seawater, what happens? The fresh water evaporates, right? And that is what we collect. We store it in big tanks and we add chlorination to it to be within United States public health rules and regulations. And the salt that is being left behind, we dry it and serve it in the dining room as a table salt. So we have, you know, our production facility can produce about 1,800 tons every day, which is enough for our usage.
Hello, Terry from Las Vegas. I also took a shower because of you throwing icing on me at the cake.
You started it.
But I have a couple questions. First of all, I was one of those people that actually missed the boat in Fort Lauderdale and had to take a plane to catch up with you in St. Thomas. And when I got aboard, it was really great. Your staff, the whole crew was wonderful. It was really wonderful.